Okay, good evening. This is the Rutland Town Planning Commission, and it's March 30th of 2023. Let's begin our meeting tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Dana, if you would lead us in that, be greatly appreciated.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry that I'm calling in from home tonight. It's been exposed to COVID for the last couple of weeks at work through various players. So I'm just going to play it safe and not try to spread it around anymore. This makes it a little more difficult to chair. I can see, Andy and Mary Beth really well, but not so well with you in the room. So when you have something to say, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand, that might make it a little bit easier. So first thing on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda. This is Dana.
I'll second it, Howard.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, down to public comment. Is there anyone in the room from the public?
No, there is no one from the public here.
Okay. Going down to new business. We don't really have any new business tonight, so we'll flip right down to old business. And the first thing on the agenda in that part is the short-term rentals ordinance. And I believe Bill has gotten some comments since the last meeting, and all of those have been incorporated, right, Bill?
they have.
Okay. And so let's open it up if there are any more comments on that, and then we'll try to figure out when we should have a public meeting on this. So, anybody else have anything to say about the short-term rentals ordinance? Is there?
All right, if I go.
Oh, there you go. Right in front of my eyes.
Yeah. I don't know how relevant it is, but the Brave Little State, which is a program of Vermont Public, they used to be Vermont Public Radio, put out a podcast about short-term rentals in Vermont. I just listened to it last night and it was really interesting. So maybe I'll send you guys the link if you're interested through email, but they talked to a lot of like neighboring landowners of Airbnbs and owners of Airbnbs, and people have taken surveys in different towns and they've looked at the regulations, and I think it's just really relevant to what we're doing in general and kind of interesting. I'm interested to see what the public meetings, like what people think, if the public has an opinion in Rutland town. But I think in the meantime, if we listen to that, be helpful just in thinking about the issue in a bigger picture.
Okay, yeah, do share that link. That would be great. Was there any kind of point of view from the podcast? Did it take any perspective?
Yeah, I'd say one of the main points that they had was that, some towns are, regulating, restricting, but most towns, like we know, are have a registration. Like they're trying to find out, what the statistics are and people that are renting out, and whether it is taking homes off the market that would otherwise be like long-term rentals for like employees, and and it kind of varied by town. But I think in general, most towns in Vermont are kind of taking the let's register and just see what it's like in our town, and then decide if we want to do something different based on that and based on like public feedback. And
Okay, okay. How about the tone of the latest draft? Does it strike a better balance between what we're trying to do and what business people or residents trying to run a small business are doing? Has that improved, Howard?
I'd say this thing looks like it's going to be a real challenge for anybody that wants to get into it, plus a real challenge to the town of Rutland. This is going to be quite a project. There's a lot to it.
And the challenge to the town is what, do you think?
To follow up and enforce it. There's somebody got to be pretty involved to do that. I would say it's not going to just flow like you would like it to, because people are going to try to bend the rules and you name it. But it's,
So I had a meeting earlier this week, or I've had several with some different vendors that offer various levels of service for helping municipalities with this, anywhere from just the most basic, we'll help you identify the ones in your community, to managing basically the entire system for you. So the one that managed the entire system for you was like a Killington level package, which was like $27,000 a year, which we're not going to even touch that. The one that I'm leaning most towards is one that helps us identify the properties. We have about 30 is what I've been able to determine. We have about 30, which is not really a big number. And they would help us in terms of, they would check, there's roughly 25 different websites where people can advertise their properties. They would check every website every week and report back to us on changes. So if somebody's putting them on, taking them off, putting them on, taking them off, trying to get around stuff, it'll get found. So when, I put this together fully realizing that it's going to be me for a little while that's going to be largely responsible for this, which is fine. The company that's really just does the basic identification is about $3,000 a year, which we could completely cover by the cost of the fees associated with it. So there'd be no actual cost to the taxpayers to manage the program. So that was my goal going into this, is that I know we're gonna need some outside help, but I want that outside help to be paid for by the people that are using the program.
And that's the one that you identified that would check the websites and.
I've talked to 2 so far, and literally 3,000 or 27,000. So I'm want to try to talk to one more, but there's really not that many of them that do this. So, and I'm leaning toward this one. That's about 3,000. It's really good. And there's actually some other services they offer that can help us. So it's a pretty neat little company, but that's part of what they do, and they can do the whole managing the system for us, but we're not that level.
Right.
Everybody kind of agreed, like once you get to around 50 to 75, it gets a little more difficult to manage. But this reporting helps with that. So,
It's a good place to start since it's relatively.
It's an annual contract. So if we decide after a year it's not working, we're not, we're only going to be responsible for $3,000, which is really not. And the intent is that, again, these fees cover that. So,
right.
Yeah.
So
I
they
don't
just
disagree that there's gonna be a lot to this. So I don't. So I'm hoping that we can kind of get involved with this company in June or July, so we can have a database of these properties built. So by the time the ordinance takes effect on day one, I already know who needs to be in that system.
and if our public meeting works out, that'll be key right there to see where it's headed.
Are these local companies, Bill?
No,
They would
No,
be
we're not.
doing their work remotely?
all of them are, they're national companies. One of them, like the one Killington uses GovOS and they're a national company. They deal with, like, this is part of what they do. Like, so, I forget what the other company's name is, but yeah, no, these are not local vendors. These are national companies.
Do you know if any of the other towns that have an ordinance similar to the one we're considering use any of these companies?
Yes, they do. And some of them, a couple of towns use the low end one, and a couple of towns use the high end one. City uses the high end one.
Oh, the city has.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Burlington, South Burlington, Chester, Ludlow, Killington. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do we think, we were shooting for April 20th, which is about 3 weeks, it's our next meeting, 3 weeks away. Do we feel, so I think the plan was, even though this hasn't gone to the town attorney yet, and, all the polishing touches.
It has, Barbara. He's
Oh.
already looked at it. He's done some preliminary, looks at it. And we fixed some of the statutory references because the ones I copied from other towns were actually wrong, so. But we fixed several of those. But he has seen it. I talked to him today. There's been other things he's been working on, so he's gonna look at it again, but he absolutely has seen it, and he's had it for about a month.
Okay, that's great. I think we were working under the assumption that he wouldn't finalize his work before the 20th, or is that wrong?
It's possible, but probably not likely.
Yeah. So we're still working under the assumption that we will present a real draft to the public and get the input on, maybe some possible changes to the language
Yeah.
or striking of things.
Yeah, the big thing that I wanted from him was making sure our references are appropriate. And any comments in the language, but he's gone through it and he really didn't have many, so.
Okay, yeah. So the question is, even if we're ready, do we have enough time to get publicity out there? Can we?
I've got my article for the Circle ready. Do you?
Almost, but that'll come out just before the 20th. Usually it's like 3 weeks into the month. So it doesn't give people much notice about this. Can we get Bill some prime real estate on the website about
I know
this?
a guy. Yeah, I know a guy.
And, we can do front porch forum and anything else at the town Facebook site.
Yep.
So why,
Yeah, Jerry.
so why couldn't we move it to the next meeting? That doesn't work time wise. I'm thinking too, the 20th is vacation week for school.
Oh, it
So there's-
starts the 17th, doesn't it?
Yeah, so that's gonna maybe be tough on some people. I don't know, but
Yeah, we'll be in
We-
Florida visiting my parents.
Oh, come on, get
Spring
out of
break.
here.
is that not enough time, Bill, or we'd have the stuff back from the attorney maybe by the middle
By
of
May
May?
11th? May
May.
11th would be.
May 11th, I think is,
Yeah.
May 11th is the next one. That's up to you guys. I mean, that's.
Then we could still put it in the circle for the next month and
And if we put it in the circle, then people would have
some time
plenty
to
of
plan
time,
on it.
right, to plan on it. Yeah, that makes actually,
Any reason we shouldn't do that maybe?
I can't think of it.
The public meeting is to allow the public just to kind of get a look at it, which something we don't normally do, so.
Right.
If we never have a meeting, it wouldn't really change.
Right, where it's going, right.
Yeah,
It would be more polished in May than it would be in April.
Yeah. And it would
Okay.
give more time for announcing it and planning to attend, and
Sure.
it would not conflict with vacations. And so I actually think that's a good idea, Jerry.
Yeah, and we wouldn't, this is not a formal hearing, so it doesn't have to be warned. And we don't need to put a notice in the newspaper. I guess we could buy an ad if we wanted to. If anybody thinks that's
Fine.
where,
I don't think if we put an ad in the paper, we're gonna reach the target audience.
Right.
yeah, or what audience we would be. Um, so,
We're out of
Barb,
town.
Barb,
yeah, Norm.
excuse me, I'm sniffing a little bit. Perhaps we could get an article in the Herald that we're considering it. Call Keith Whitcomb, and that
Yeah.
there'll be a meeting. That will get some attention, better than an ad and even better than a notice.
Like,
And
Yeah, we could try that.
plus all the other things, including the website and front page forum and Facebook, I think.
Okay, so we'll go.
There
for-
there will be a formal noticed meeting as well, will there not?
It'll be our regular meeting.
It'll,
There's- it-
yes,
meeting, adopt it,
Mhm.
it'll be at a board meeting.
yeah,
I know that, but do we have to actually have a public meeting for comment?
No, we do for the subdivision ordinance, but not for this one.
Well, why?
Because Kevin told me we did.
I'm sorry?
Because Kevin told me we did.
Oh, okay.
yeah, I think it's, I'm not quite sure why, Norm. I think it's the nature of the ordinances.
Yeah,
Um,
because it basically follows some of the same rules as zoning ordinances do. Like it has to, for the public hearing, and I think we have to have one, the board has to have one, so.
For the subdivision ordinance.
Yes, yeah, there's be like a warned time for that meeting, so it doesn't have to be a special meeting. It can be part of another meeting, but we have to warn it for that,
For the subdivision, but not for this.
not for this, right?
Isn't it a little different because of the select boards kind of done this? This really isn't us anyway.
That's
So that's why it
right.
doesn't need to be warned. I mean, or have a meeting for the public. This is really not our deal. From what I understand, this is more the select board asking us for our input only.
Yeah, we actually asked them if we could have a little more input because I
Right.
thought a public meeting would be very helpful in this. So,
I guess
yeah,
I have one more thing to add, Barbara, too, if I could. I did
Yeah.
talk to the state electrical inspector and asked him what his take was on the law. And the only thing that I think is a little different that's in here that makes sense is that the 30-day thing, right, Bill, that it's got to be rented for over 30 days before it's considered a public building, or at least 30 days.
Yeah, if it's
30 days a year.
consecutive
Right.
days.
Right. So I did speak with him, and his take was absolutely positively any home, single family dwelling, or any portion thereof needs to be inspected by the Vermont Department of Public Safety if it's rented at all or Airbnb'd at all. However, I said, well, how would that work? Well, would that if somebody, and he said, well, somebody would have to actually call us. In other words, not like the town for everyone. I don't think they have time for it. Is kind of his. So I actually have a call into GJ Garrow just to ask him to clarify it. Maybe next meeting I could fill you in on what he tells me. But I think the 30-day thing is something that the electrical inspector didn't really say to me. So that's probably why this particular sentence says a building may constitute. I'm kind of looking at it like it definitely does, because that's what I'm told, but I think the 30 days changes how he spoke to me. He didn't really speak to me about 30 days.
Okay.
But it was interesting for him to say it definitely needed to be inspected, but how are you going to go about doing it? I mean, he kind of was like, didn't really offer any suggestions whatsoever, just kind of dismissed it. So, I'll ask GJ just to kind of maybe clarify that if that's good with everybody, and I'll let you know.
That makes sense. Yep.
yeah, that's great. there's one thing in the tone of the purpose. It's really minor, but I think it goes to, just what might strikes some people as being a little anti business. And that's under section 2, number 2. And it's in the second line, replacing against the desire of residents. It's balancing with, balancing the desire of property owners with the desire of residents. I just think it make a little bit of difference. It doesn't sound like it, but just don't like that word against.
I don't see against.
It's
Yeah.
paragraph 2, second line,
That's the desired
Norman.
resident.
Balance the desire of property owners to rent their residential properties to short-term rental guests
Oh, I see.
with
Yeah.
the desire. of
I agree.
residents is what Barbara wants to change.
Okay.
It's,
I think
it's,
that's a great
it's
idea.
combative.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is. It
not well
goes back
said.
to the original kind of language that was in there. I think it's kind of a holdover from that. And Bill, the definition of occupant on the 3rd page is going to be filled in by,
We don't
Town
have
attorney.
a definition. I couldn't find one like that made any sense to this, or so. We said we wanted to define that, and we wanted to define adverse effect. I can't find a legal definition for either one.
well, shouldn't our town attorney have one? Oh, yeah.
Might. Oh. I'll keep it on his list.
Okay.
We also use the terms adverse effect and adverse impact, I think somewhat interchangeably.
Yeah, I'll effect/impact.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have just a comment on format, and Bill, in the table of contents, you itemize the pages, but they're not individually numbered.
No, they're not yet.
And,
I know.
okay,
It's not that it's because when we add and move things, it
Yeah,
changes. It just
yeah,
it's far more complicated to update it all the time. So that's just an end of it. That's the last thing I do is fix the page numbers.
Okay.
Yep.
just so you're aware.
Oh, I know.
And Bill, along the lines of definitions, we're also waiting on a definition for occupant, is that correct?
That's what she just said. Yeah, was document.
Sorry, I somehow missed that.
Yep.
Oh, we were talking about adverse.
I added that after she did that. So yes, we are looking for both of those.
Both of those, right.
Okay. So May 11th it is. Let's start the publicity now, Bill.
Yeah.
And I'll reach out to Keith Whitcomb, unless you want to, Bill. I'll be glad to do it.
It's got to interest him. So we'll see what we can do.
Okay, maybe we tag team. And Mary Beth, yeah, please do send us that link. The podcast. Sounds like great background. Okay, anything else on this draft? Okay, the permit tracking ordinance, remember that? We started work on that quite a while ago. It sat in the select board for quite a while. There was a suggested change, and it finally came up for action the other night with the select board. It passed, but just barely. It was a 3-2 vote. And if I could generalize the 2 votes against it, it was too much like zoning, even though some of the other people voting in favor of it pointed out that it was just updating and fixing up what was already on the books. Since when, Bill? Since
2008.
2008. So by a 3-2 vote, it has passed, and it will be one of our ordinances, or it's already one of our ordinances. it'll, the new one will replace what is existing. So, I'm just glad we got some action on that one and can take that off our list. Now down to the subdivision ordinance. And Dana, if you can tell us what we need to decide on, I guess be mostly the red items, what you need a decision from us for you to carry on. And if you could, after that, get this get a version of this ready that takes care, gets rid of all the other colors, and
Barbara, if you were here tonight, you'd have a copy.
I'm sorry.
We have, everybody here has that exact thing on their desk.
Oh, if I was there, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was,
Special prize people attended in person tonight.
Bill and I have worked on this over the last, week and a half, Bill, I can't even remember now. And what we did, let me just give you a little bit of background, then you can ask any questions that you want. And, I think that I'm going to address the questions that you started to ask, as well as other ones that you may have and that others may have. Bill and I, have two versions, have put together two versions. And I think, Bill, you sent out last week the redlined, color coded version, which is the final version that has all of the changes that have been tracked.
I do have some copies here.
And there are a couple of copies here tonight, if people would like to take one with them. But everybody has that in their inbox in a digital copy. Bill has also put together what he's calling a clean copy, which is about 3 pages shorter than the original ordinance. And Bill, help correct me. I've seen so many versions that my mind is a little muddled.
Whatever you've seen, I've seen more.
Well, mine is a little muddled, so I just need a little help. Maybe together we'll get the right answer. Bill has also put together a comment version that I believe he's going to send to our whichever attorney for review. That doesn't have the color coding in it, right? That's just
right.
That just has, it's basically a clean copy that's been annotated with Bill's comments that he and I have reviewed. So we have a dozen and a half, Bill, maybe questions or comments for legal interpretation. 2/3 of those are focused on statutory references, if that I'm in the ballpark. The others are on comments that we had that were in red that we needed additional input on. We had decided at our last meeting or 2 meetings ago that we would send that to the attorney rather than us spending time trying to figure out what we wanted to do. We would ask for a legal opinion, and then that will come back to us with any comments. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, anytime.
That sounds right.
So what we have now is the cleaned up version of what it looks like that we are sending to the attorney, minus the attorney comments that Bill has put together. So those are comments that we've already covered, and they are going for review. So those are questions and comments and requests for guidance. So
Okay. So
this is
there-
the final version, and I'm sure Bill can send this electronically
Yeah, well,
tonight, after tonight, could be tomorrow.
Okay, yeah,
So-
it's a big document just to, it's good to have it ahead of time. Is there anything that we need to decide on or help you and Bill fix up what you're sending to the attorney?
So we don't think so, because the task from the last meeting was for us to do exactly what Bill has done, to put a clean copy together. That might be my fault, in terms of not telling Bill to send it out to the, planning commission. That may have been a misstep on my part, but, we were talking about so many things that fell off my radar. So you have the final version in your inbox, which is, multi-color coded. And, tomorrow you'll see the, version that will go to the, attorney, minus the comments that, Bill and I have compiled through all of our conversations.
Clean draft.
The clean draft.
Yeah, I
Okay.
told, I talked to Kevin today, I told him I would send him each of the three versions, the original, the one with all of the markups, and then the one without any markups.
And that's what we have here.
That's, you have, yes, and I have some of the ones with the comments if you want one.
But you're sending, you're sending him the clean version with the comments that you shared only with me. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's the one that has like the narrower one that has.
Yes.
I'm gonna send him that too.
Oh, you're gonna send him that as well. Okay.
Yeah, so just so he can compare and see.
Right. But there's no difference between the clean version and the one that has the markup comments that you added.
Right, it's the clean one, just everything's taken out. It's what it would look like if it went.
Right. To press.
Yep.
Yeah.
Except it's got a question mark.
Yeah, there was still a couple things we needed to fix, but
Just definition needed.
yeah, we do need a definition, yeah.
Okay.
And there's an addendum. If you look at, the, table of contents, and that is perhaps, the only question this evening, Bill, that we need to ask this committee. Because there's an addendum A. We took out the previous addendum A, which had the, what is it called? The, road construction, diagram. And, Bill has replaced that with, what he's calling regulatory references. And so that's the only question, that Bill needs some clarification on with respect to what we want to include in that addendum.
Okay, and we decided that it's going to the town attorney as opposed to VLCT.
I sent an ordinance to VLCT 2.5 months ago, and I have yet to get acknowledgement they actually have it. So, yeah.
Okay, the answer is yes there. Dana, you put in so much work on this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I
I have to give Bill a lot of credit. He's been the
And-
one
and
behind the
Bill.
scenes pulling it all together. So.
Yeah, the two of you. There's one thing I think it still needs before we, have a public meeting, send out, the official
Yep.
draft. And that is a more fleshed out version of the draft changes, explicitly what the most important things are that we changed in it. Not typos and, wrong citations and things like that, but anything that was, probably anything that was, redacted, taken out, just to help people, just to wrap our heads about what we've done with this and to help people read the new version.
Yep. So Barbara, how would that be different from what Bill has already sent out with his multicolored coding?
Well, there won't be the multicolors anymore. So all the, and we don't need those. Those are like for discussion, for legal review, recommended changes. Those should go away because that's part of what we've done with this. This is like a little, I see it as an introduction to the new, subdivision ordinance, why it's new, what has changed in it.
Okay.
And so it segues from helping us, guiding us through the new changes to what the reader needs to know. And the select board, because they're the ones that are actually gonna vote on this. Yeah, Norm.
Barbara, I think that's a very good idea. And what struck me is maybe what you're really saying is they have to be informed of the changes, and to expect anybody to go through this, who doesn't make a living at it, is really unfair. It's not good notice. So my suggestion would be for you to consider, Dana and Bill, footnoting the current the changes in the draft and the document we have before us, and then the addenda would contain an explanation of what each footnote is, so people can go immediately and know what's going on.
I would humbly submit that I think what I'm hearing can be achieved by either a strike through in the original and or the new wording that is replacing that, because that's what Bill has accessible.
Well, we're not going to give people multiple versions of this when it comes to a public hearing and to votes. So Bill
Okay, help me then understand what it is. If we don't want the old version compared to the new version,
exactly.
how to simplify for the public what
Bill has
is
been doing,
happening.
Bill has been doing this. I think if you look at the permit tracking ordinance, he has a list of what was changed and what is new. So he already has, you already have, Bill, a process for this, right?
Yeah, yes. Maybe I'm regretting I do, but that ordinance, I did do that because they were minor, and it was just like, if you're looking for them, here's the differences. To create a list of changes by section in this would be substantial.
It would be longer. Yes.
I guess my question is, if we enact this, it goes in 60 days, and then someone wants to file a subdivision on the day this new one takes effect, does it matter what the changes are?
No, it doesn't matter, as in the document as it lives on from enactment. You're right. It's just something, it's some guidance for people to, when they're voting on it, for the public, when they're reading it, they're not going to compare versions. They're just not. So it could be the highlights of what was changed and what was taken out. Not every legal citation that was changed.
Yeah, right.
More like the highlights.
So Barbara, let me suggest this, because this is my thinking now, and if need be, I can probably do that, because that's what I was doing every time I was putting an agenda together for our subcommittee meetings. If we're looking at just a 1 page, maybe page and a half reference of what has changed, I think that that's achievable with a half hour to 45 minutes of work on my part. I can give it to Bill. He can look it over and tell me whether he likes it or not.
I think we can do that. That's
okay.
Yeah. I get it.
And
We're working. Okay, I'm good. We'll do that.
It really comes
Norm?
down to the quality of the notice. And it seems to me this is probably as an important piece of regulation as the town has.
Yeah.
And it's the one that is most involved. and involves the most people and most permits every year. So it seems to me that Barbara's on the right track. And, it's just telling people what we've done so they understand it a little bit better and don't have to dig through and none of them will. So we'll have a more informed, theoretically, a more informed public that's going to use it. And I think it's the right thing. And Dana, if you need some help with that,
Okay.
try and
It
find
could
some time to
even,
meet with them.
and I'm just thinking now, it could even be like an appendix. It doesn't have to be at the beginning like it is with the permit tracking ordinance, because it's going to take up more space and keep people from actually finding things in the ordinance that they're looking for. So it could, you could jump and just say it's at the end. You could do it in footnotes. Yeah,
I
think
would
there's options.
suggest that it be a separate document because you don't want this included in the final published version. So that can be a separate, I don't know, compendium of changes or something like that. But I think between Bill and Norman and myself, we can get something for the next meeting.
And you know what else? This will come in really handy when we do the notice for this. Because
Sure.
that will be the stuff that we put in the paper in the morning. This is change in the subdivision ordinance. This is why we went into it and made changes. And so if we can get some sort of summary of those most important things, it would
Yeah.
help with communicating what we did in person and also in print.
Okey doke. We're on it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it will end, Dana. It will end.
May
Mary
and Dana.
So I hope I'm not pulling us back into the weeds on this one, but I was just thinking after we talked to Donovan last week about the subdivision and we talked about overhead versus underground utilities. Maybe we should, there's an allowance for shallow soils, but maybe we should add shallow soils, wetlands, or floodplains.
That's in the waiver already. I don't know that we have to actually do anything to reference that since that's already listed as part of the waiver. Is that correct, Bill? Waiver options?
I think it is. Yeah. I mean, I haven't gone back to look at like the forms.
Yep.
Because we're not really relevant. I mean, the forms are going to change based upon.
Right, based on-
this,
right.
Yeah.
And Mary Beth, is that what you're asking? Or is that where you're trying to lead us? That this should or should not be a waiver?
I think should, because it makes sense to have them overhead. I mean, I think the intent overall is that then people don't have to look at utility lines. But I'm not sure. But so just looking
But you have
at
to, we're talking about, Mary Beth, you're talking about comparing aesthetics versus environmental impact. And so at some point in time, so there's got to be some regulatory body that is saying, at this point, we're talking about environmental impact outweighing aesthetics. And so we're going to go with a waiver that says that this is the best course of action, right?
right. And it does say that, so under utility lines, it says that the planning commission may waive this requirement, but it says in areas of extremely shallow soils, the planning commission may waive this requirement. So I'm just saying, make it a little more clear, maybe put or other environmental constraints. I don't know. It is, I can also just talk to you about it because that is very specific, but I was just thinking about it because it just came up in a recent meeting and.
Well, if you're recommending a change, give us the reference
Okay.
for right now.
4.06 utilities.
Yep.
840 is the line on page 20.
Could you repeat that?
4.06 utilities. And here it's actually paragraph 1, utility lines, second line down, in areas of extremely shallow soils. That's the point that you're referring to, right, Mary Beth?
Yeah, because it says
Or
all.
other,
Well, because it
Or
says
with
all
other environmental
lines
impact.
shall be placed underground. So I was like, well, we're requiring it. And then after that, it says in areas of extremely shallow soils, the planning
or
commission.
other
believes-
environmentally sensitive areas,
Exactly. Right. Yep.
or other environmentally sensitive areas. The planning commission may waive this requirement.
Hmm.
That makes sense?
I like it.
Good catch.
Thought we were done, Bill, but apparently we've got one more. Did you get that, or do you want me to send it to you?
I have recorded for posterity.
Good thing you can't see Bill, Mary Beth.
Thank you for humoring me.
I'm only kidding.
All right. Do you think that will cover it, Mary Beth?
Yes. Yep.
All right, perfect. Great.
This group is nothing but thorough.
I think it comes from the top.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So Barbara, back to you. Are there any other instructions that you would like to provide for the chair of this committee, subcommittee, before you take back the agenda?
No.
Okay, it's all yours then.
Okay. Thank you again
Thanks, everybody.
and again for all the work.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
So, next on the agenda, sent out some data about the river corridor and that ordinance that we're considering and that we will in sometime soon start doing some public outreach on. But I thought it was interesting to me to actually put the addresses in and what type of buildings. So the first part, the first page, the parcels in the river corridor, those are parcels that have structures that would be in this new river corridor. And then the second page is the structures that are in the small stream buffer. And that's most of the small streams. It's the lighter pink color on the map, and it's 50 feet on each side of the top of the bank of the river. The first
Hang on a
page.
second. Am I not looking at the right thing?
No, this is the one she talked about first, then you flip over. That's the one that are in the buffer. Two different-
Oh, because there's no color coding on it.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
It's two different.
Yeah. Right, okay. Yeah, 42 parcels are in the river corridor and 7 are in the stream buffer. Okay, yep. I was just confused by the colors that I didn't see.
Right, there weren't any colors to see.
I think she was talking about the colors on the map.
Over there.
Yes.
Is that right?
I'm just blind, not colorblind. Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh.
so the river corridor is the thicker pink on the map, and then the small
Yep.
streams, of course, would just be the little
Yep.
fingerlings
I
there.
take
I'm
the-
back with you.
I take the colorblind championship.
So I was surprised that there were as many businesses within the river corridor, and it looks like most of them are over on business for 4. So in my mind, that does change our outreach a little bit. I think in respect to, we may need to have some that's directed to residents and homes and what they want to do with sheds and that sort of thing. And with these businesses, and what they might want to do for expansion. So out of the 42 parcels or structures, excuse me, that are in the river corridor, 18, I think it's about 18 are commercial or hydro or businesses. There's one lodging. So, if anybody has any insights on, how we should proceed with that, what we can do, we can take this list and get the mailing addresses for the owners and send them a letter, send them a map and indicate, give them some idea what a river corridor means, give them a brief description.
Oh, Barb,
And go from there. Yeah.
this is
Howard,
the
yeah.
listing that you were talking about that you wanted names. Yeah, we don't have this listing done, I don't believe. I don't think that was ever done. I mean, it's
Oh,
easy enough
okay.
to do. It's in the grand list and it can be pulled together and pulled out, but it's I don't think I ever set anything up in the past. So somebody would
Okay.
have to go through and pull these out and set it up.
Yeah.
It could be all set up so that you could just print a listing of all these just automatically. But
Yeah.
I don't believe it. I'll take a look, but I don't think it's been done.
Yeah. We might have done it for something else, Howard. I can't remember right offhand what it was.
When we were doing the Brooks, when we were
Yeah.
doing the Brooks.
Oh, right.
That's when we did it, because we did some mailings at that time. And that's what I was thinking of. That was, but this here could be set up just as well. It should be set up for.
And I don't think there's any addresses in here that are in that watershed, are there? I mean, most of these,
Right, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, these are. Well. Curtis Brook, let's see. Perkins Road,
maybe on
perhaps.
the
There could be something on Perkins Road. On
Yeah.
the
small
second
stream.
page.
Yes. So what I'm thinking the next step is to get those addresses so we can mail and get letters ready. Probably 2 different versions, one for residents and one for businesses, and send those out and just start raising awareness about this and then set up a public meeting or 2. There's some state facilities in here, so I didn't include those, but I did include the hydro. And I think those would probably be exempt. The state ones are already permitted to be there. And most likely, the federal facilities that like GMP, hydro and all that have licenses to be there. What I don't know is if we have any say on how they can develop. We may not. Those may be exempt completely. We may not be able to tell GMP that no, you can't put another structure closer to the river, because that's what they're doing. They're doing river hydropower. Yeah, Howard.
Just curious, Barb, on one of them, you got 0 Amanda Drive. What is that?
Yeah, see, is that the small streams or no? Yeah, I remember
No.
that.
Creek.
I-
It's
Are there any other places? Is there just one place on Amanda Drive? Is that,
no, there's houses on Amanda Drive that are very close to the river there. That is stream.
Yeah.
I just wonder, 0 Amanda,
Is there others other than 0? I don't have that actually.
I only see 0.
0.
It's all of those.
Well, I know There's one up, the third one down on top.
Oh, one
Third one
twenty.
down is 128 Amanda Drive.
Yeah, all those houses are, I would say, within that zone.
It
Yeah,
says
I'll
it's an
double,
accessory building.
Yeah, there's
I'll
another one,
double-
184. How many houses are down there, Howard? Isn't it like 5?
Way down the bottom, there's maybe 4 or 5, perhaps that.
I see at least 3 on here.
where's Amanda Drive?
Oh, you're going up East Fisher Road, and if you're gonna go
Yeah.
up as soon as you start going up, yeah, up in your neck of the woods, when you turn and go up around Colonial Estates or Colonial Drive, you just start up and it's a road that drops way down into the hole by
Oh, right,
Mercurial.
right,
yeah.
we've talked about that one,
Road.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's right along the river.
Oh,
East
that's right
Great.
on the river, yeah, but I just couldn't get what, there's an accessory building at 0 Amanda, I don't know what that could be.
That could be it. I'll double check. These came from E911 information. So I think maybe they didn't put a number to it because it was just an accessory building. I think you're right, but I'll double check on that.
Unless this is the water, there's a water system up there that Colonial Estates has, which is not on Amanda Drive, but that's right down on the river. I don't know if that sits right down, certainly where it could be in the floodplain. I don't know.
Yeah, so looking at this, it's like, okay, we've got our work cut out for us because there are so many businesses listed here. So,
So Barbara, what is what's the summary of tasks for this outreach?
so the next step would be for me to get whatever Howard or the lister's office needs to identify these parcels. And, you know, these two columns in this table were just pulled out of a huge spreadsheet. So I could send the office the whole spreadsheet if that would help. And then I don't think we can set a timetable to get the information back because Howard is leaving and you know they've got quite a workload as it is in there. So I think we just have to wait till they can get this done, and then we can proceed. And get
What
the
is it that
letters
they're
out.
getting done? Just putting the list together that Howard was
We-
speaking about earlier?
Flagging
For
these in the
each-
grant, flag these accounts.
In
Who-
the grand list. Yeah.
who gets the letters in each of these, the 42 river corridor ones and the 7 stream buffer ones?
I mean, who the individuals that will be addressed to?
The landowner, who is the landowner for these parcels?
Yep.
And what is their address? Yeah.
Yep.
I'm running out of
Okay.
time. If I'd known about this a week or so ago. Tomorrow's is it for me, so, but somebody else can do it. It's an easy enough job to do. You just flag them all and set up an account.
Okay. Well, let's touch base, Howard, and how I should broach this with the office, the lister's office, and what might get the best
That's where it should-
results.
That's where it should be done, you know, that's where it normally would be done, in the lister's office.
Yeah.
That's the lister's grand list that they, you know, work with all the time, so it could easily go in and flag them all and set it up so that you just push of a button, you print all the mailing addresses, you know, names and addresses and anything else you want with that.
Yeah, okay.
So
I'll say-
how long, Howard, do you think realistically that would take? So what is the ask that Barbara is?
To do this?
Yeah.
Oh. You know, a few hours basically is what it would take, and I'll see if I can't do something with this tomorrow, but I won't have access to that room much longer, so I'll see if I can get it done.
So I'll bring lunch.
Yeah.
Do you want me to send you the spreadsheet, Howard?
No, I can work from the sheet we got right here is enough.
Okay,
This is, I'll just go in the grand list and find all of these and flag them.
okay, okay. That'd be great. Thank you.
Right. So that's the first step. And then the second step would be, do we need to put information together, or do you already have that, Barbara?
We will need to put information together for how we're going to do, what's going to be in the letter, what our message is, and what we're going to pull out of, the river corridor regulation language, and, the reasons why this is beneficial, the ecological reasons, the financial reasons. So that would be, so just getting that, letting those people know that they are the ones affected, is the first step. And then, our meetings, we could talk to anyone who's interested. But I think we definitely need to let the people who own the land in the corridor, in these small streams, know first.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, there are a lot of commercial businesses here that, there's a chance they might be easier to work with than residents because of the financial implications. If they did, want to develop, put a structure closer to the Otter Creek in most cases here, that wouldn't be the best business decision.
Right. And,
I think I think they can see that. Whereas a property owner might be more like, well, this is my land. Why are you telling me, what I can do on it?
So you're suggesting that we'd hold 2 separate meetings? Or no?
Well, maybe it might be too early to make that decision right now, Dana, depending on what kind of response we get from the letters. The letter could also say, it could say something about, there will be meetings coming up, or if you have any initial questions, you can contact blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the future meeting, we can work on that verbiage.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And thank you, Howard. That would be great. Sorry, I left it for your last day.
Well.
Okay. The next thing is the Joint Energy Committee. That's the Select Board and the Planning Commission members who are sitting on that. Met a couple weeks ago. I think it was since the last time we met, and planned out some activities for the townwide celebration that would be energy related. Some vendors and some people with tables with information. So we'll start publicizing that, and also in the next circle, we'll have the results of the energy survey. Let everybody know. And there are some connections to what people said in that survey and what we're trying to do with the townwide celebration. And we're also trying to make some connections with the Rutland, with the school, and see if we can get some students involved with the celebration and the energy topic. And that pretty much covers that. Unless, Norm, did you want to add anything? You sit on that committee.
You covered it.
Okay. Okay. So, in announcements, there's a new select board member who was named Tuesday night, Matt Getty. He has been the town moderator last few years. And he'll be sworn in on tomorrow?
Probably
Bill?
tomorrow.
Yeah. Any other announcements?
The 4 board members that were up were reappointed.
The 4
Planning
planning
commission?
commissioners.
Yes, yes.
Phew.
It was close.
Nail biter.
Didn't give us the result of the votes
It was unanimous.
with a sigh of relief. I didn't have to find anybody else.
Right.
And it was interesting, there was the open select board seat, even though there wasn't much notice, it was competitive. There were, what, 3 candidates, Bill?
At one point there were 5, then it got down to 4. So.
Oh.
Yep.
And so, yeah, so Matt Getty will now have to run in the special election in May.
Yep.
There's a special election to take care of the shortage in the new public safety building. There's the expenses and everything were higher than anticipated. So they need to put an item on the ballot to make up for that overage. And there may be some accounting, just internal accounting that's done so that taxpayers will not really have to foot much of a bill at all. But they do need to be put on notice, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, that what was approved 2 years ago was not enough.
Yeah, so they're looking at a plan where there's not gonna need to increase the amount of money we borrow. But the ballot question initially capped the project expense, so they need permission to raise the project expense, even though we probably won't gonna borrow any more money.
So that initiated the special election in May. And then these openings came. And so Matt Getty will be running, most likely, we don't know. He and other candidates need to get signatures to get on the ballot for that seat. So the seat essentially opens up again for that election.
Right.
Kind of complicated, but that would be, and that's just filling out Don Chaffee's term, right, Bill?
Correct, yeah, it'd be
Yep.
up again, then it'd be up again in March.
Okay. Any takers? So that, any other announcements? Okay, let's head down to the minutes. March 9th.
Move to approve the minutes from March 9th.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I think they were concise and accurate.
I didn't find anything to comment on with change.
Norm, I think you finally have Bill trained. Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't think of such a thing.
Okay. All those in favor of the minutes, as Bill has so expertly put together, say aye.
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 I
Opposed? Unanimous, Bill. Wow.
And please put in there expertly.
Okay, anything
Okay,
else?
motion. Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna motion to adjourn if there's nothing else to
I'll
discuss.
second it. Yes.
Okay,
All right.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Ernest.
We're adjourned.